Welcome back, Stassi23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and today I have another one from Off Grid Knives. This knife was sent to me by Off Grids, and this is the Cleaver V2. The V2 was made, their OEM is Best Tech Knives. They do some phenomenal work both on their budget end and in their higher end, so I'm always happy to see them as an OEM. And let's get some specs out of the way before we really deep dive into this knife. You have an overall length of 7 1/8 inches, so it's in that medium to smaller range for some people. You had that blade length of 3.11 inches with about a 2.87 cutting edge. You have a grip area without that forward choil from here to the back of 3.34 inches, and with that choil of 4.16 inches. You have a very average handle thickness of 0.50 inches and a close width in the pocket from this point to here of 1.71 inches, a blade stock thickness of 0.125 inches, and the behind the edge thickness on this particular knife is around 17 thousandths, sharpened at 15 degrees per side. I'll just say this knife was an absolute joy for me to test. And it really got me excited, especially at the price point. This knife came in at $70, and we will see, and I will show you whether it's worth $70 or not. So y'all stay tuned. Let's get into it. All right, let's dive in and talk about it in a little bit more detail. You have the so trendy at the moment cleaver shaped blade. And I say that because, I mean, the cleaver craze is definitely in effect. And it's kind of funny because aesthetically, I don't love cleaver shaped blades. And I guess you'd be like, really? You don't? No, I don't love them. But I will say that a lot of them are really good slicers because you have such a higher grind on them. Now, depending, if you don't like, this one's not that high, so it's not as thin, but that gives them the opportunity to thin that edge out and increase that performance of that blade exponentially, at least in my opinion. But, the humps don't usually always do it to me. That's why, I did this one on the Mini Bull Massive. I prefer, more curvature right here instead of it going up. But that's just my feelings. I don't, they're not deal breakers to me, obviously, because I got a bunch of them. But let's talk about this cleaver. And like I said, with the inherent wider blade on a folding cleaver, that high flat grind coming down to a pretty decently thin edge, 17 thousandths is a nice thin edge, compared to most production knives, that is. The slicing capabilities have potential to be off the chart. This one right here did not disappoint. I hope you watch this through the end so you can really grasp how well this knife performed. This knife came to me sharper than any budget knife under $100 in a really long time. I don't even remember a knife that came as sharp as this. It was very, very sharp, and that makes my testing that much easier because a lot of y'all like that I test the factory edge because, that's how you're going to get the knife. And being that, it came with an incredibly sharp edge, and I know Best Tech does an excellent job with their heat treating. It really performed. The cardboard felt like cutting through paper, and this forward finger choil right here, talk about a lock-in position. Right here in this hammer grip, the way my index finger wraps around right here, and then when you're choked up, you don't have to worry about material getting caught up in the forward finger choil. So right here, you can get some very powerful cuts in there. You're pushing your momentum down, and like I said, it went through all the cardboard, did not affect the edge in the least. And you wouldn't believe how many knives that just after I finished doing the little bit of cardboard cutting I do, the edge is erect, and it's usually because they came with either a burnt edge or the knife was just not that sharp coming from the factory. But this one was absolute perfection. All right, this thing performed outstanding. You can see all the cuts went in this direction. I was so locked in, and this thing slices so well. It came ridiculously sharp. Sharper than any knife I've had in a while, especially in a budget format. Yeah, I didn't think that affected it. Then we moved from the from the cardboard to the wood shaving, and usually, I'll be honest, the wood shaving is usually not my favorite test, because whenever I start getting into the very hard pressured cuts into the bottom part of the wood, the ergos really show in the knife. And for this being a flat scaled knife, I was very impressed. Like I said, I think it has a lot to do with, the grip I had right here in this choke up position, the way this handle flares out like this, and then anytime that handle curves down, it's gonna fit most palms perfectly. And that was definitely the case here. I did all the wood shaving. Not only did it shave like a outdoors woods knife, but it was comfortable even through the pressure cutting. I say comfortable for a flat scale knife. Most of them are hot spot city, or they got some extra finger grooves that just create a terrible hot spot. But this fairly neutral handle and the nice curves along with the beveling going all the way around was nice and comfortable. I did some reverse draw cutting and very comfortable. I was locked in right here, and you just got to be careful that you don't get material stuck up in here, because you really can't choke up right there. But this right here was fine. The clip wasn't in the way. The saber grip was comfortable. Hammer grip was very comfortable in this, locked in, powerful cutting here. This is comfortable as well because you have the handle that flares out right there, so it really fills out the palm. It was comfortable, but I mainly choked up because I didn't want material getting caught up in the forward finger choil. That's basically what that choils to get some fine tasks going on, and this worked really well. Also, one star of the show, and you can even see where it was starting to just rub on the paint, is this tip area. This tip right here is easy to guide through materials. I did a little demonstration just cutting a shape out of some cardboard and just doing some drag cutting. I do that in my testing because that's something I do a lot around the house. Even, if you're breaking down a box, going through tape, something like that. But this tip is ground decently thin. You can see how thin it goes down, actually nice and thin. So it passes through material very easily, and it was super sharp. So, it's just like using a razor blade or X-Acto knife. Very fun to use, comfortable to use, and it handled it all. The leather, not a problem. The seatbelt material, not a problem. The rubber gasket material I cut up, not like it didn't even feel like I was cutting through stuff, and it kept surprising me. It's not a shock, like I said, because Best Tech does exceptional work, and they've only gotten better and better over the years, and their heat treats are dialed in. I'm guessing they don't overheat these edges, because usually an edge doesn't hold up that well, especially factory edge, until you get that fatigue steel off the apex. But this one, awesome. I don't even know if I mentioned it, but this one is in D2 steel. It has a cryogenic heat treat on it. It held up very nicely. So if you have any knives that have good D2, I would say this is in that category. D2 is not my favorite steel, but when it's done right, it's a good steel, especially under $100. Awesome job. Kept a smile on my face, and hopefully I inserted, the clips of my reactions after some of the cutting I did. All right, let's move on to the action. This is riding on ceramic bearings and a ceramic detent, and Bestech knows what they're doing when they're producing on how to produce a really snappy and smooth action. And that paired with the mass of this cleaver shaped blade, the action's nice and snappy, comes out with authority. That blade comes whipping around. The flipper's comfortable. You do have some jimping. It's not overly aggressive, but it is effective. The flipper tab's comfortable. It's slightly canted in this direction, so you don't have anything poking you. Comes out, does its job, and then the closure, nice and smooth. Just 2 light shakes, goes to its home. Well dialed in detent, very fidgety, awesome action. All right, now let's go to the handle, the scales and the hardware. First, your hardware, all coated black. You have a domed pivot that sits up a little, just ever so slightly, but it's domed, so it's comfortable. You do have countersunk body screws, T8 on the hardware, T6 on the pocket clip screws. Your G10 is of the peel ply variety. I think it's the perfect tension, perfect traction. It gives you nice grip without being overly aggressive. Didn't tear up my hands, and my hands are already beat up, so it was nice and comfortable. You have a chamfer that goes all the way around the scales, making it nice and comfortable as well. Excellent job there. For the scales not being contoured, these were great, because that, along with the nice slope down right here on the scales, and then the fairly neutral grip. You just have this little choil area, but no extra choils to force you into any position. Just nice. And we talked about the ergos, excellent in every position that I held the knife. It was really good. Even here, even though I don't think you'd use this knife for that unless you're doing like I don't know, but very comfortable. Even in like a pinch grip like this, if you're gonna guide like this, you're gonna have to like come back because there's a slope up right here, but all of it usable and comfortable. All right, let's check out this pocket clip. You have a fully deep carry pocket clip that is tip up, left or right hand carry, and done exceptionally well. You don't see many budget in or under $100 that get all this right. They not only countersunk the pocket clip screws, but the actual pocket clip is inset into that G10 scale. What that does is when you slide it into the pocket, you won't have to worry about it snagging at all. And it goes in and out of the pocket nicely. Let's see, you got enough ramp. And as you can see, it goes all the way into that pocket. Get your hand in there. You end up not feeling that flipper tab much because of the way it's shaped. How it's curved right there. Your hand usually goes right past it. I had no issues whatsoever. Only thing that I would have maybe liked to see is maybe a flat spot on the Peel Ply G10. But being that it's not super aggressive, I don't think it'll destroy the pants really quickly or anything. All right, let's check out the liner lock. You have black coated stainless steel liners that have been heavily skeletonized, and Bestech does an exceptional job of balancing the knife, gives it a nice light feel in the hand, and it also shaves off that weight a little bit. Let's check out the weight. All right, the weight on the knife is 4.54 ounces. Perfectly fine with me. I did not feel like it was weighting my pants down or anything, or had to tighten my belt up any extra. That's perfect for me. It didn't feel like a brick or anything in the pocket. All right, let's move on over to the lock. The lockup on this one, it is a little bit later. It is at around 60%, but one thing that I've learned from testing many of Bestech's knives that they produce is that they are bank vault lockup, absolutely no play any direction, and any one that I've ever spine whacked, they were actually able to not disengage, unlike many other companies that I've tested that out on. Not something I usually do anymore because I just find it a silly test. The access to that lock bar is nice because of this little bit of an extra bit of cutout. So your liner is a little bit higher than the show side scale right there, and it does have a chamfer right there, making it easy to get your finger in there and disengage without an issue whatsoever. All right, let's move on over to let's back out, any nitpicks or maybe complaints that I had with the knife. And first, of course, I would have loved to see these scales contoured, of course, but that would have increased the price some, and they're already definitely comfortable enough. I had no problems with the ergonomics of this knife, and that's usually not the case. You know, whenever they're flat scales, usually I get hot spots in certain areas, the clip, or maybe in a point or something, but not so here. So I'm okay with that, just a very minor nitpick. Lastly, for some reason, aesthetically, or maybe it's just my OCD tendencies, the 3 pocket clip screws, it seems like it's maybe an overkill here. I doubt you need that many screws, but it is giving you even more side-to-side rigidity. You know, it's not going to slide on you. But being that you already have 2 there, and it's recessed into the G10, you can see it has enough lip there. It would probably be fine with just 2. Is that hurting anything? No. And they're black. You can barely see them. So it's not really an issue. It's just a very, very minor nitpick. I don't have any complaints about the knife. I think at first, the $70 price point, I was like, whew, that's a little much for a D2 knife. But after seeing the performance of the steel, how well it's sliced, how smooth the action is, you know, nice and fidgety, crisp detent, and how comfortable it was in the hand, and especially in this grip. And to see that after all that cutting, this knife still nice and sharp, no severe edge damage or anything, or no severe dulling. That paired with Best Tech's quality and QC, $70, yeah, I can not only can I recommend the knife, I plan on buying at least 2 or 3 more of these to give to possibly both my brothers, and maybe as a Christmas gift to a friend or so. I like it that much, and like I said, I don't even love a cleaver shaped blade, mainly because of how wide they usually are in the pocket, and you know, I don't know. I think if you would cut this off right here, I think it'd be beautiful as well. Just that right there. I might have to do that later on, but you know, it's not a deal breaker. So if you like the overall aesthetics, if you're a Cleaver fan, I think this is an excellent one. I mean, I don't know, you see the testing. Y'all let me know what y'all think. What do you think about Cleaver shaped blades? Do you like them? Are you ready for them to not be a fad right now? I don't know. I don't. It doesn't bother me one bit. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I hope everybody's having an absolute wonderful, wonderful day. I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.